Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. Welcome to Hunting for Answers, a true crime podcast. I'm your host, Hunter, and today we're highlighting a case that began in Newnan, Georgia, a city about 40 miles southwest of Atlanta. In March of 2021, a 35-year-old mother of three left her apartment to go to the grocery store and never came back. She was a criminal justice student with dreams of working in law enforcement, a dedicated mother who never missed class or work. And in the days that followed her disappearance, her fiancé, the man who reported her missing, stood in front of news cameras pleading for her safe return. But as investigators began unraveling the details of her life and relationship, they found something chilling and a trail of evidence that pointed to something much darker. This is the story of Tiffany Foster. Tiffany Nicole Foster was 35 years old when she disappeared in the spring of 2021. She lived at the Creekside at White Oak Apartments on Lakeside Way in Newnan, Georgia, a community in Coweta County. Tiffany was a devoted mother of three. She worked as a security guard at HelloFresh and was studying criminal justice at Georgia Military College, with a goal of working in law enforcement. She stood 5'2", weighed about 220 pounds, and had black hair she often wore short or in wigs. She had hazel eyes, pierced ears, and distinctive markings: a heart-shaped Big Sister 12-7-97 tattoo on her right back shoulder, and a large red birthmark stretching from her back to her left arm. Her loved ones say she was the kind of person who wouldn't just disappear. March 1st, 2021. It was a Monday afternoon when Tiffany left her apartment at the Lakeside complex in Newnan. Prosecutors say she left to run errands. She was last seen wearing a black bodysuit that zipped up in the back, possibly with Nike shorts. At 2:58 p.m., her phone was last active north of Omlajack Boulevard in White Oak, Georgia, and then silence. The next day, March 2nd, Tiffany didn't show up to class at Georgia Military College. She never missed class, so her absence stood out. By March 5th, she had missed several shifts at HelloFresh. Still, there had been no sign of Tiffany. No calls, no texts, no activity. On March 8th, a full week after she was last seen, her 2020 Nissan Altima was found in College Park, about 30 miles from her home. Inside the car were her purse, her keys, and her debit card. But her cell phone was still missing. 3 days later, on March 11th, she missed a prepaid flight to Texas. Her family knew that something terribly wrong must have happened. Tiffany didn't miss work. She didn't miss school. And most of all, she would never leave her children behind. The man who reported Tiffany missing was her fiancé, Reginald Robertson. They lived together at the Lakeside Apartments in Newnan. In the early days of the investigation, Robertson appeared with Coweta County deputies at a news conference. He pleaded for Tiffany's safe return. A worried fiancé before the storm hit. But as investigators pulled at the threads of their relationship, a very different picture emerged. November 2020, about 4 months before Tiffany vanished. According to prosecutors, Robertson took Tiffany to an abandoned house. He blindfolded her, he tied her up, and he fired a gun while she was held there. Investigators later located that house and testified they found zip ties, a shell casing, and a bullet hole in the ceiling. And then there was the 911 call. Jurors heard the recording where Tiffany screamed, "Reggie, you're scaring me. Reggie, you have a gun." In the days leading up to her disappearance in March 2021, prosecutors alleged Robertson sexually assaulted her. This wasn't just a bad relationship. It appeared more as a pattern of abuse, terror, and control. In April 2021, about a month after Tiffany disappeared, Robertson was first arrested. The charge: stealing Tiffany's car and moving it to College Park. On April 21st, he was arrested again, this time for kidnapping and aggravated assault related to the November 2020 incident. But it would be more than 2 years before the full scope of the charges came down. On August 3rd, 2023, the Coweta County Sheriff's Office arrested Reginald Robertson on 10 charges: malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, burglary, concealing the death of another, financial transaction card theft, and financial transaction card fraud. Investigators said the evidence indicated Tiffany was deceased, but her remains have never been found. The trial began in October 2024 at the Coweta County Justice Center and was expected to run about 2 weeks. This was a no-body homicide case, a prosecution where the victim's remains have never been recovered. Without any remains, there was no autopsy, no confirmed cause of death, and no remains-based forensic evidence. But prosecutors told the jury they had something just as powerful: a timeline, a pattern, and an object that would become central to this case: a burned wood chipper. Investigators discovered a burned, rusted wood chipper on property connected to Robertson's grandmother in Troup County. Cadaver dog units alerted to the odor of human decomposition inside the chipper and in the surrounding soil. Next, the lead investigator, Stacy Beckham, testified that on the day Tiffany vanished, a man named Jeremy Walker Sr., a co-defendant, made multiple calls to equipment rental companies in LaGrange, Georgia, inquiring about wood chippers. And investigators found internet searches on Tiffany's phone for equipment rental companies and wood chipper rentals. Prosecutors argued that Robertson was using her phone to search for the very tool he would use to dispose of her. Traffic camera footage would contradict Robertson's timeline. Tiffany's car was seen moving hours after the time he claimed she left the apartment. Cell phone records showed that Tiffany's phone disconnected from the network at 4:09 a.m. on March 1st. Shortly afterward, records show that Robertson's and Jeremy Walker Sr.'s phones pinged in that same area. The digital evidence did more than raise doubt. It directly undercut Robertson's story. A former inmate, Curtis Culbertson, testified that while he and Robertson were jailed together in 2021, Robertson called someone and told them to, quote, put canned goods down a pipe. Culbertson believed the food was meant for Tiffany, that she might still be alive, hidden somewhere, maybe underground. He reported it immediately, thinking he could help save her. Authorities searched the area. Tiffany wasn't there. Investigators also recovered a handwritten affidavit, allegedly from Robertson, offering his uncle $1,000 in exchange for an alibi in a November 2020 incident. And there was more. Jeremy Walker Sr., the co-defendant, was charged with concealing Tiffany Foster's death. Tiffany's mother, Katrina Hill, testified that Walker told her, "Tiffany's never coming back," and "Tiffany is no longer with us." The defense argued that Robertson was innocent, that he had simply been doing yard work at his grandmother's property. They questioned the cadaver dog alerts, the jailhouse informant, and the fact that there was no body. But the prosecution's case didn't depend on a body. It depended on a pattern of violence, digital trails, rental inquiries, and a burned wood chipper found on rural property in Troup County. On October 30th, 2025, the jury returned its verdict: guilty on all 10 counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole and additional decades behind bars. Jeremy Walker Sr. was convicted of theft by taking and acquitted of concealing a death. After the verdict, Tiffany's family spoke publicly. Her sister, Kimberly Bryan, said, "At least Tiffany has that justice, and I think she got her voice back during this trial." But even with the verdict, one question remains. Where is Tiffany? Her family is still left without final closure, but they have not given up hope. They still hope to bring Tiffany home. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends of Tiffany Foster. I pray one day they're able to receive the full closure that they deserve. If you have any information that could help lead to further answers in Tiffany's case, please contact the Coweta County Sheriff's Office. You can find their contact information listed in the description below. As we close out this episode, remember that sharing Tiffany's story helps spread awareness and may help guide her family toward the answers that they still need. It also keeps the critical conversation going about the realities and dangers of intimate partner violence. Follow Hunting for Answers for updates on Tiffany's case and others like it. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more true crime stories and case updates. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to share your thoughts on this case in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Until next time. Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network. For more podcasts from the Black Effect Podcast Network, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.